From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sports Bash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Sports Bash is also brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. By Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles in Rockville Center, Long Island's go-to store for sports, entertainment, and political memorabilia since 1996, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. For more information, go to MartyLyonsFoundation.org, and don't forget the Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party on Thursday, April 24th at the Great South Bay Brewery. I'll be emceeing, so look forward to seeing you there for the draft party on that night. And hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Sports Bash. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. Make sure you're subscribing to Govs Comedy Club podcast and Sports Bash Media on YouTube and following on Facebook and Instagram. Another great show for you today. Later on, I'll be joined by Zach Rosenblatt, the Jets beat writer for The Athletic. It's also Thursday, so we're going to play Stump the Wiz. We're going to have This Week in Sports History. We'll have our poll question of the day. And later in the show, I'm very excited about this. We're going to introduce a new segment on the program. And this mixes this part of my life with another part of my life going on right now. And the name of the segment later on in the show is going to be called Crap the General Manager Has to Deal With. I mentioned it to Tony before the show, Tony Walker, who's running the board and everything, and mentioned it to Wiz, who's here for Stump the Wiz later on, and they both seem to be amused by it.
I thought you were joking.
No, I'm not joking. You didn't think
I really did.
You thought I was joking. No, this is a real segment coming up. I don't have a graphic for it. Maybe we can come up with a graphic. Wiz, that could be your homework assignment for during the week. Maybe you can come up with a graphic, crap the GM has to deal with. That is a real segment, and it's coming up later on in the show. So stay tuned for that. And Zach Rosenblatt, a lot of stuff going on with the Jets, and I can't wait to talk to Zach about that coming up at around 1:20. There's so much stuff to talk about in sports. The Big East tournament is underway. Let's take a real quick look. Let's see how St. John's, because I'm trying to understand why. Now, St. John's is crushing Butler at halftime, 37-26. So St. John's is the number one seed in the Big East tournament, and they're playing at noon? Like, shouldn't they be playing at prime time tonight? And listen, it's Madison Square Garden hosts the tournament every single year, and St. John's, I get it. You don't want to make it too big of a deal that they play their home games at Madison Square Garden. But as the number one seed, shouldn't they be afforded the respect and the courtesy of playing at least at 7 o'clock tonight? I can make the argument they should be the last game. They should be 9 o'clock tonight. But it's, I wouldn't be making a big deal about it if it was, if they weren't the number one seed, but they're the number one seed. And think about it again. I know you can't cater to the team that plays their home games there, but I would imagine it's kind of a crazy day for students who want to go see that game if they have classes. But this is what it is. March Madness, you have to make sacrifices, so people do miss classes. It's going to happen. I just found it strange because I remember looking last night, like, I wonder if St. John's is the 7 o'clock or the 9 o'clock game later tonight. I figured they'd be 7 or 9 o'clock because I have another event to be at later on this evening, and I'm like, let me see if I can watch the St. John's game tonight. Then I'm like, wow, I really can't watch the St. John's game because they're playing at noon. I'm getting ready for the show. Got to do the show. So probably I guess by the time the show is over, we'll have a pretty good idea if St. John's is going to move on to the next round, which I think they will. They're already up by 11. And congratulations to the Red Storm on just a brilliant season. Rick Pitino is the coach of the year in the Big East, and all kinds of accolades for players like Zuby Ejiofor and Kadari Hamilton and all those, and RJ. Why can't I think of his last name? RJ Lewis. RJ Lewis. Stupid. I had a senior moment there for a second. But St. John's had a wonderful season. Had a chance to go to a couple of games, one at Carnesecca Arena, the other one at Madison Square Garden. And Rick Pitino has really saved that program. And if you remember, last year they did not get into the tournament. It was kind of a sticking point. A lot of people thought they did enough. Now, I'm no expert on college basketball and the computer and how it works with strength of schedule and everything, but they felt a little gypped last year that they didn't make it. And if you remember, as soon as they did not make it, Rick Pitino said, we're not going to the NIT. We're not going to go to another tournament, because he was going to get a jump start on recruiting, because now recruiting in college sports is so different than it was in years past. Like, now you've got to get that jump. It's like striking quick in free agency in professional sports. You got to get that NIL money out there. And, the only reason why they have, Kadari is he played for Seton Hall last year, and Rick Pitino's been open about this. If Seton Hall offered more money for him to stay, he would have stayed. But St. John's had more money to spend. And you remember when Rick Pitino came back to the United States to coach, he started Iona, and then St. John's had the opening before last year. There was really gut check time for St. John's, for the university, because they had a chance to really change their fortunes. The program was stumbling and bumbling for so many years, and finally it was a chance for them to sink some money into the basketball program. If they let Rick Pitino walk away, if they didn't get that done, then it really would have been a bad look for St. John's. And even though they didn't make the tournament last year, the big dance, they still took a mammoth leap. And now you see what they did this year. And this team will look a lot different next year, because they're going to lose some players to the NBA. But I don't know how many more years Rick Pitino has left to coach you. He's 72, I think, Rick Pitino is. So he's not a spring chicken. But if you watch him, and listen, I've been to 2 games this year. I went to a St. John's event where they unveiled the docuseries on this season. I got a chance to meet him for the first time. I'm trying like everything to get him on the show. I have been like begging, my hands and knees to the St. John's SID. Can we get Rick on? He did this whole. You see, he was on every single show this past week. He was on FAN. He was on ESPN Radio. He was on the Tonight Show. Did you see that? He was on with Jimmy Fallon. Mm-hmm. That was great. I want him on this show. And I think that would be pretty cool if we could get Rick Pitino on the show. I'm trying. Everybody, I'm trying. It's like sometimes, and even like there's just some days where, you get your Rolodex out and you try and get a guest on the show, and sometimes it's easy. Remember, I think it was one day last week where I had nothing the night before.
Yes.
Zippo. I remember I told you this.
Yep.
And like within 5 minutes, 3 people responded, yeah, I can come on. Like, where were you an hour ago when I first asked you? But like, I'm grateful that people come on the show. But sometimes you have that big wish, and like Rick Pitino's on that wish list. I can add Rick Pitino to the short list of guests that I would love to have on the show. Rick Pitino is somebody I would love to have on the show, and maybe we'll get it done. We'll see. Maybe next week. We'll see how their tournament schedule works out. Maybe we can get them on. But the other big person I want to get on the show, obviously Billy Joel. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum, right? That's on the Mount Rushmore of guests who I want on the show, and Hulk Hogan is on that list too.
Oh wow!
So I have basically played the fanboy card on social media, because you could follow, so if on Twitter at least, if you follow somebody, but they don't follow you back, you can't send them a private message unless you pay Elon Musk for the blue check mark. So I've tried just even publicly, hey, Hulk, would you come on my show? Big fan, would love to. I can say I've interviewed The Rock on one of my shows before, because years and years ago, I was doing this little talk show on WGBB. You guys are familiar with WGBB, the little Long Island long-time station?
Yep.
And so the WWF was coming to the Coliseum. We did the show on Friday afternoons at this place called Catalina Seafood Restaurant on Old Country Road. It's now, I don't know what it is now. It became Red Robin for a while. It's across the street from Roosevelt Field in that Country Glen shopping center. Mm-hmm. But Greg Buttle, former Jet, owned a piece of that restaurant. So we did this radio show there. It's on a Friday afternoon. That Friday night, the WWF is, at the time, now WWE, is at Nassau Coliseum. And at this moment, this is like 1997, 1998, The Rock was just like, he was on the cusp of being like The Rock. Like, he came into the WWF as like Rocky Maivia, and then he joined what they call in wrestling is a faction, like a group of wrestlers formed together to be a faction. So he was part of the Nation of Domination. And other factions in wrestling, if you follow, even if you don't follow, but like DX, the Generation X, was a faction that had Triple H and Shawn Michaels and so on and so forth. But The Rock was part of this faction called the Nation of Domination. And he came in under Rocky Maivia. His father was Rocky Johnson, mm-hmm. and his grandfather was the great chief Peter Maivia. So that was like a combination of the two of them. So anyway, I faxed a letter. Who faxes now, right? I faxed a letter from my full-time office job to the WWF PR department. Hey, can we get a wrestler on our show? I'm actually going to that event that night with tickets. There was a steel cage match, the Nation of Domination against DX. Could we get a wrestler that's on the card that night to come on the show? We would have loved it if they could come to the restaurant beforehand, but on the phone was fine. Nicest lady in the world calls me back and says, yeah, we'll be happy to have a guest on your show. And I said, great, who is it going to be? He goes, I don't know if you know this person yet, but he's called The Rock.
Oh, wow.
I said, yeah, I've kind of heard of him a little bit. They're starting to put him over a little bit, right? And we had The Rock on the show, and the guy who I did the show with hated wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And was so antagonistic, because I played the straight man role, and this guy, all he did was antagonize Dwayne Johnson. Nobody knew who his real name was at the time, even though he was a former player at the University of Miami. Like, he was, how do you feel about all these exposés coming out about how wrestling is fake and everything you do is phony? The Rock handled it so well. There's nothing phony about The Rock. There's nothing fake about The Rock. What The Rock's going to do is he's going to come down there and lay the smack down on your candy ass. And then it was funny because he handled it so well. Obviously, they're well schooled on how to handle those kind of questions. But it was so great. At least I could say I had The Rock on my show before. He wasn't, of course, Dwayne Johnson as he is now, megastar and movie star, the final boss, all that stuff. But yeah, Hulk Hogan, I mean, he's my favorite wrestler of all time. I would love to have Hulk Hogan on the show. So here are the three possibilities. These are my three big ones: Hulk Hogan, Billy Joel, and Rick Pitino. Now, there's more. I mean, I'd have to think about it. I mean, I can't.
Good group.
It's a good group of potential guests, right? Who do we think of those three would be the most likely to come on the show?
I think Pitino.
Pitino?
I think it would be Pitino.
I think I have a great relationship with St. John's. And if I have to really, I've already promised, look, Ed Cole, who's the athletic director at St. John's, he's done so much for me and my family. He always hooks us up with tickets, and he came on the old show. Remember, he came on the old show a couple times. One when he was with Fordham, the other one when he got the job at St. John's. I've already promised him a Dragon sweatshirt. Like, he congratulated me when I got the job. So we got to get him a sweatshirt, but he's got to. We got to figure out. So St. John's will, if they get to the Big East final, which they should, that'll be Saturday night. And And then, of course, March Madness won't start until the following Thursday or Friday. So my goal is I'm going to wait till Saturday, see what St. John's does, and then full court press on Sunday and Monday. Now, if I have to drive to Jamaica, to Queens, and go do the interview, like if he can't do it like Tuesday at 1 o'clock live or at 1:20, whatever it is, I'm going to hire Tony. Tony will drive me to Queens, and we'll do the interview. You'll record the interview, right? Whatever time it is, and then we'll play it back on the show on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
Okay? Tony, you okay with being the chauffeur?
Absolutely.
Okay? That means you have to get somebody to possibly to do your show for you on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. But but I think it's possible. I think we can get Rick Pitino on the show. That's my hope. I have to mention something else before we go to break, and Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic is going to join us to talk about the Jets. And so many things for me to talk with him about. Obviously, the new coaching staff, the new general manager, the player moves so far, and obviously Justin Fields will be their quarterback. A lot to do, and we'll get to that in a second. I got to bring this up because something happened last night watching TV with my family that struck me, and it reminded me of a conversation that Tony had on his show a few months ago, and it was with Diane Fogarty. By the way, if you missed the Knock 'em Dead comedy show prior to that looked like the Better Business or
That's exactly
Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island. That's what, because they call my house 5 times a day.
Yeah.
We give them bags of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's like so Diane Fogarty is a guest Tuesdays with Tony on the Knock 'em Dead comedy show. And if you don't know, if you don't follow that show, and you should, 11 o'clock every weekday, Diana's on Tuesdays for trivia, but Diana's also a singer. But I had never heard Diane sing before, and I was listening to the show on the way over here, and she was outstanding.
She's a powerhouse.
Unbelievable. So if you had a chance to see her sing in person, but you had an argument with her a few months ago. It was right when I think we started doing the show over here.
Okay.
I walked in, and remember the argument you had with her about whether Cher belonged in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yes.
It was pretty heated argument. Like she was pissed at you.
We went outside and there were fisticuffs.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. They dropped the steel cage down. I'm like,
That's right.
But like that, but it was, and I sided with you because
cool.
She's not a rock and roll star. She's a pop star.
Yeah.
Right. So my family and I are watching The Masked Singer last night. Do you like The Masked Singer? Do you ever watch it?
I watched the first season every show.
I enjoy watching it. Now, I've missed episodes here and there recently because now with my new job,
you're a busy man.
I'm at events and stuff like that, moving and shaking and stuff like that. But I got home from an event early last night, and I had a chance to watch the episode. Now, again, I missed some things. So apparently, I forgot what the name of the costume was, but Flavor Flav.
Oh, sure.
Was
Long Island's own.
Long Island's own. Now, apparently, the clues were so good over the last couple of weeks that I missed some shows that it was painfully obvious that the guy under the mask was Flavor Flav, right? So my wife knew it. My son Jared knew it. It seemed everybody on the show knew it, right? All the panelists, the judges, whatever.
Yeah.
So I missed all of this, so I didn't know. So is it really Flavor? It's got to be Flavor Flav. And of course, he gets eliminated last night, and it's Flavor Flav. So they're taking the mask off, and what's the dude's name that hosts the show? Why can't I think of him?
Nick Cannon?
Nick Cannon, thank you, Wiz, very much.
Father of 1,800 kids.
Father of 1,800 kids, formerly married, I think, to Mariah Carey.
Some people have a family tree. He has his own orchard.
That's funny, but I didn't ask you for your opinion on it. You know, your segment comes up later on in the show. I'm just kidding. Busting your chops. So anyway, they take the mask off of him, right? And Nick Cannon goes, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
And I said, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yep.
Now listen, with all due respect, again, he's a great entertainer. Love him. He's from Long Island. I was at a game at the Coliseum once, and he was there with his Islander jersey on and everything like that. I have no problem with Flavor Flav.
Sure.
I've heard some of his music. Again, that It's not my cup of tea. It's not what I have on my iPod. It's not what if I'm driving, 55 miles an hour on the Southern State or the LIE. It's not what I'm listening to in the car. But explain to me how Flavor Flav is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Tony, come on, you know more about music than I do. Explain to me, because to me it's in the same conversation as Cher.
Yes.
Cher doesn't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
When I see people like Cher and Flavor Flav and even Madonna get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I just assume it's like just an attitude.
So let's change the name of the Hall of Fame. Is it the Pop Music Hall of Fame? Is it the I once wrote a song Hall of Fame? I perform in front of sold out crowds Hall of Fame. Like Flavor Flav is not a rock and roll star. Neither is Cher.
Agree. Right, and no disrespect to them.
I love Cher.
They're good at what they do.
Listen. We were getting ready to unveil the name of the Dragons team, and I was thinking of music to use in our video that day at the show. We wound up going with the Back to the Future theme, Back in Time.
Yeah.
I thought about using Turn Back Time.
Sure.
I love Cher.
Yep.
But explain to me as we are getting ready to go to break. But if Zach calls in, we'll probably blow off the break if he calls in.
Okay.
At some point, I'm just going to double check with him. But as you explain to me, why he's in there, I'm gonna text Zach Rosenblatt.
I wish I had an explanation. My thing is, if you're going to throw them in, fine, because again, they do what they do what they do well. So fine, throw them in, but there are people that should be in there before them.
Yeah.
People like Joe Cocker, people like Steve Winwood are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Which is a travesty.
That's how I see it.
Right.
So fine, throw Cher in, throw Flavor Flav in, but these guys should be in before them. The band Bad Company, they were finally nominated this year. First time they were ever nominated. How is that? That's just wrong. That's wrong.
I don't get it. But listen, Zach said he's going to check in a minute.
Okay.
Let's go to break. When we come back, Zach Rosenblatt. Maybe later in the show I'll cry more about Flavor Flav in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'll get to that. But Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic will join us when we come back right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles is the best place to find autographed entertainment and sports memorabilia. We guarantee the authenticity of each and every item in our shop to provide you with quality collectibles anytime you browse our inventory. Our memorabilia includes autographed photos, sports equipment, jerseys, hats, and other paraphernalia from current athletes and legendary sports stars. If you prefer the entertainment industry, we have signed posters, albums, and photographs from classic movie stars and today's celebrities. To give back to our community, we participate in fundraising auctions for local charities. Call us today to request a specific autograph, find a special gift for someone else, or schedule an event. Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. This segment of Sports Bash is presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Welcome back to the show. I'm Peter Schwartz on this Thursday. Lots going on with the New York Jets, and no better person to talk about it right now than the outstanding beat writer for The Athletic who covers the Jets. He is Zach Rosenblatt. He's been on the show before, and we welcome him back. Zach, it's Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to see you, Peter. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for spending part of your Thursday with us. So it's been a few days since the start of free agency, and the Jets have been busy. Perhaps the most notable thing was Justin Fields being signed as their quarterback. From the first 3 days plus of what the Jets have done in free agency and making deals, what kind of a grade do you give them? What do you think of what the Jets have done so far?
It's hard to grade them because I don't think they're done. But if I was giving them a grade, I'd probably go like B minus. Like I don't think they haven't done anything to I think some fans have been annoyed because they haven't gone at the top of free agency or they were slow to move or whatever. But I actually respect that they've been patient. They haven't forced it. They know where they're at as a team. They have the ability to be competitive, but they're targeting players that fit the system, fit the kind of like physical and age attributes that they want, and they're not overspending to make headlines like this team has done for a long time. So I think I've appreciated their approach, even if like outside of Justin Fields, it hasn't been like big names or exciting stuff necessarily.
Yeah, as you know, full transparency, I'm a huge Jets fan, and I happen to be in the part of the Jet fan department that liked the signing of Justin Fields. I thought it was a very low-risk situation for them, and if nothing else, they could catch lightning in a bottle with the type of quarterback he is, and also the fact that he's reunited with Garrett Wilson now, and they teamed up at Ohio State. And look, the Jets could have gone in a number of different directions at the quarterback position. They could have kept Aaron Rodgers for another year, but I think all in all, given where they are in the draft, what they could do even a year from now, I thought Justin Fields was a really good pickup for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I know 20 million a year sounds like a lot, but really in the realm of quarterbacks, it's not, especially if he's your starter. So I view it as a low risk, high reward contract because, let's say he is really, really good this year at $20 million, then you have him locked in for next year. Like it's not quite the same as the Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield situation because they signed those guys to 1 year prove it deals. So let's say he's very good and he lives up to what they think, then you have him under a very reasonable contract next year. Or the opposite, let's say it doesn't work out, you don't love him. You're only tied to him for 1 more year at not like a crazy debilitating salary, and he could be a good backup at the very least. So I think he was the best option out there considering where they're at. And I think it's a good lottery ticket to try and buy.
Do you think that this signing of Justin Fields, does it help Garrett Wilson's feelings about potentially signing long-term with the Jets? Because we heard so many things during the season about how, he wasn't getting along with Aaron Rodgers, that he was, he has 1 foot out the door. When he becomes a free agent, he'll hold out. Do you think this helps change Garrett Wilson's, and maybe it's also the new regime that does it too, but does the Justin Fields signing help change his attitude about the organization?
I don't think it hurts it, certainly. Like they obviously played together only 1 year at Ohio State, but they played together that 1 year, and they loved each other back then. But I think ultimately, I do think Garrett's willing to sign a new contract. I think more than anything, even more than the Justin Field thing, if the Jets come to him and say they're interested in signing him to a new deal right now, I think that would go a long way towards his happiness. Not even just the money part, it's just like them showing a commitment to him and that we value you even more than the Justin Fields thing. But I think he just wants some stability at quarterback and like removing the nonsense that, with all the stuff that happened last year, the previous 2 years before that, he played with like 7 quarterbacks. Like he just wants some stability and he wants an offense that puts him in position to succeed. These play callers have had a hard time, calling plays to put him in position to succeed where he's done it anyway. But so I just think he just wants to remove the dysfunction more than anything is what I would say.
Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. He covers the Jets. He's our guest here on Sports Bash on this Thursday. And, of course, we're talking Gang Green. I know it's still a small sample size, but when you think about the new regime of GM Darren Muji and new head coach Aaron Glenn, you see the initial moves, not bringing back Aaron Rodgers, some of the other things they did, and what they've done this week in free agency. Have they in your mind, have they set like a tone in how they're going to go about things? Do you get a feel right now of what kind of team they want to make the Jets become in not just this year, but in years ahead?
Yeah, I think a lot of that we'll see as time goes on and as they fill out the roster and what guys they draft and stuff like that. But I think they want this to be a disciplined, hard-nosed football team that does its job and doesn't, when adversity strikes, they can handle it. Because that's just something that's been missing from this team for a long time. And I think Aaron Glenn coming in, putting his foot down, clearing out a lot of the people that were in the previous regime, both player and coach, bringing in his own guys, bringing in some guys that he doesn't have ties to. I just think he's trying to establish a culture. And you do that through like the guys you bring in, the leaders you have. they moved on from not only Rodgers, they moved on from C.J. Mosley yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. That's a big
yeah.
hit for the defense.
It's a big hit, more than even just the football side of things. Like, he was an important part of like the leadership, and like he got everybody in the right position. They really missed him on the field last year. But Aaron Glenn is turning the page on the previous era of the Jets, and that's why you're seeing them. All the guys they've signed are 27 or younger. Like, they're really emphasizing youth and guys that fit their culture and their schemes and things like that. And so I think, like I said, I think they're approaching everything the right way. Whether it works out, like, nobody actually knows. They still have a lot of holes they have to fill. But I think the way they're approaching it, while not trying to force it, just because you have a need doesn't mean you should spend $20 million a year on somebody just for the sake of it, which I think not only them, but a lot of teams get into the habit of doing that. And so they have not done that. They spent more on the corner, Brandon Stevens, than maybe people wanted, but they believe in his ability. He's young, and if he becomes a cornerback too, then $13 million a year is not really that bad ultimately.
Back to Mosley for a second, Zach, and listen, he meant so much to that defense, and obviously his play calling, his leadership, and everything like that. But as much as I think everybody would have liked to have seen him come back, they really couldn't continue to keep him on the roster. He missed a whole bunch of time last year. He's got the multiple injuries now. There was really no way they could keep him.
Yeah, I would have been interested to see if they could have like come to some sort of pay cut thing, but I don't think that was ultimately in the cards. And he's still deciding if he wants to play. Like, I haven't heard definitively if he wants to play. I know he's become like a restaurateur in New York. He like opened like a French restaurant with somebody. So I don't know if he's thinking about life after football or not. I'll say, like, he's one of the more professional, honest guys I've covered. Like, you could ask him anything, he'll give you his honest answer and opinion. I think he was respected by everybody in that building, top to bottom. And considering how his career with the Jets started, where first he gets hurt most of his first year, then he sits out the COVID year, the way he became like not only a fan favorite, but a locker room favorite and an all-pro. Like, it wound up working out. When he was signed, people were pretty mad about it because of the money they gave him. But I think it's hard to look back at his career as anything other than positive, in my opinion.
It's not very often, Zach, that a coach or even a manager in baseball gets to, when they become the coach and the manager of a team that they play for. It's not very often you play for a team and then you wind up being the head coach or the manager of a team. And I think of some other examples in New York. Obviously, Aaron Boone right now is the Yankee manager. He played for the Yankees. And you think back, Bucky Dent, did the same thing. It's not very often. I remember Magic Johnson when he came back and coached the Lakers. It's sometimes it could be an easy thing to do and sometimes it could be difficult. For Aaron Glenn, the only thing I worried about is that he was such a good Jet while he was a Jet cornerback and all-pro and all that stuff. You worry about, though, when he comes back and now he's the head coach of a team that's clearly had their issues trying to win over the years. And the last thing you want to see happen to Aaron Glenn is have him go from being a fan favorite when he was here to now he's the head coach of a team that's got so many problems that you wonder if even he, with his resume of being an assistant coach, you wonder if that will hurt him somewhere down the road. From what you've gathered in speaking to him so far, first of all, how excited he is to be the coach of the Jets, and is there any reason to worry that a guy who played for this team is now the head coach of this team?
I wouldn't say there's concern. What I would say is he's coming into this situation at a time when I think Jets fans are at their angriest and most tired of waiting.
Zach, that's the understatement of the year.
but that's so, like, we're talking earlier about like how I like their patient approach.
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. I don't know if fans will be happy if they have a bad record this year, even if they're competitive. Like, they've been waiting 14 years for a playoff contender. They've gone through so many different iterations of rebuilding and retooling and all that stuff. So the only thing I worry about is that all the goodwill that he has just from being a Jets legend, will it evaporate if they start 0-4 or something like that? Like, and how he handles that and all that kind of stuff. Like, that will be a real test for him. But I think otherwise it's been nothing but positive reviews so far. I think in the building, he's really, been the new sheriff in town type of guy. They're not really leaking stuff. I think they've done a really good job of keeping information in-house, which is, as a reporter, I accept the information when it comes to me, but like, it's not a good thing for an organization when things are leaking out the way they were before. So I think so far, everything has been good, but when adversity strikes, how he and the team handle himself will be the real test.
And Zach, to your point, and obviously it's a great thing, and that was one thing that Aaron Rodgers couldn't stand was the leaks. And some people seem to think that maybe he was the root of some of those leaks, but that's a story for another day. He's not here anymore. But when you talk about the angriest that Jet fans have been in a long time, I think a lot of that anger is directed at the owner, Woody Johnson. And this has been an ongoing thing during his era and his run as Jets owner. Now, there have been some great moments. There have been trips to the AFC Championship game. There have been playoff appearances along the way. So it's not all been bad. But a lot of the venom from the Jet fans are always pointed at Woody Johnson. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he interferes and he gets involved in player personnel and he gets involved in the front office. And there seems to be this feeling now that maybe, this new regime has gotten into his ear, that maybe Mike Tannenbaum, who helped lead the search for the new regime, got into his ear and said, you can't do this anymore. Do you get that same feeling that maybe Woody Johnson has finally decided, hey, I'm going to let the football people do the football thing, and I'll just sit in my suite and root the team on? Do you get that feeling at all now?
I do. At least in the very early stages, he's let them do their thing. The kids are not involved. All the nonsense that kind of like came with the last few years,
like using the Madden grades to figure out who you want on the team.
Yes, all that stuff. I think that he's taken a step back. I think even beyond what things we've reported, the stuff that's been out there, that NFLPA report card was not very kind to him. Mm-hmm. And so if he wasn't already reflecting when it's like reporters reporting stuff, when it's his actual players calling him the worst owner in the NFL, I think and hope he's taken that to heart. My question will be it's great that he's given Aaron Glenn and Muji the space right now to do their thing, but what happens when they lose or they don't, make the playoffs this year or whatever it is? Will he revert back to form? Will he start getting over involved again? That'll be the real test, but early returns are very positive from everything I hear.
Well, that's good to hear. A couple minutes left with Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic as we're talking about the New York Jets. So we're 4 days into free agency, still a lot of moves to make, but the draft is right around the corner. Thursday, April 24th is round one, and obviously the Jets will fill some holes in free agency. Then they'll look to the draft to get some more work done. When you think about the Jets right now with the 7th pick in the first round, and still they have some things to do in free agency. If you looked into your crystal ball, what's the position that the Jets will look at most closely when it comes to April 24th in the first round of the draft?
Yeah, it's funny. We're a few days into free agency, and I feel like if you had asked me a week ago, what are the most likely positions they draft, I don't think it's changed at all. So I don't have a good read on who it will be, but I think they're in a really good spot at number 7. I think they're going to get a really good player there if they stay there. There's good receivers in this class. There's good tight ends. Tyler Warren is someone I really have my eye on. If Mason Graham were to fall to them, I think it'd be hard to turn him down. And even some of these edge rushers, but I lean towards them going tight end, offensive tackle, defensive tackle would be the 3 I'm looking at right now.
So as far as drafting a quarterback for the future, no chance they do it in the first round. That's probably something that happens later on in the draft.
I wouldn't say no chance. If Shador fell to them and they love him and think he's a future franchise quarterback, then you take him and you don't think about it twice. But yeah, I lean more towards them looking at quarterbacks on day 2 or day 3, which they should be doing every year, and bring in a project and try and develop them kind of thing.
Is Jackson Dart on their radar?
Yeah, I think he would be, but it feels like the buzz is pushing him into the first round for a quarterback desperate team. So unless they want to trade back in, I don't see that happening, but I think he's somebody that would be high on their board for sure.
Zach, I can't thank you enough at the last minute for taking some time to join me. It was great stuff, and hopefully we'll have you on again as the offseason moves on, as we get towards minicamp and training camp. Enjoy. Have a good time covering the rest of free agency, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, sounds good, man. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks. Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. He covers the New York Jets. So when we come back, we will play Stump the Wiz. We will check out this week in sports history, the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, and of course, the debut of our new feature here on the show. It's called Crap the General Manager Has to Deal With, and that's coming up when we come back right after this.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,500 families, raising over $43 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $6,700 each, and your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 76 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Peter Schwartz with you. Our thanks again to Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. A great spot with him talking about the Jets. And listen, you know, I've cried about that team on this show, my old show, everywhere. I'm on FAN, my family, friends. It's a never-ending theme of bitching and moaning about, you know, a team that I love. It's amazing because you think about, again, I mentioned this to Zach, you know, the Jets have had, like in my life, I mean, there's been some incredible moments that this team has had. I mean, I've had some joy. I mean, there was, you know, growing up and following that team in the 80s and getting to the title game and getting screwed by Don Shula. You know, that was enjoyable, right?
Sure.
Yeah. It's like going to the dentist, being a Jet fan. You know, you had the championship game in 98, 10-0 lead at halftime. A 3-0 at halftime, 10-0 right into the third quarter, and they don't get it done. The Colts, they had the lead at halftime of that championship game. They don't get it done. The following year, they forget to show up for the first half. They come back in the second half against the Steelers. Nothing happens. It's, you know, it's mostly pain. My friend and WFAN compadre, Joe Beningo, has said it best. 3 words. Oh, the pain. But it sounds like, and Zach kind of confirmed this, it sounds like the new regime, they may have gotten, and that's the big thing, if they get Woody Johnson to take that step backward and just like, go, like I've said here on the show, go sit in your suite, eat your caviar, drink your wine, let the football people do the football people. And listen, that I practice what I preach. I hired a head coach for the Dragons, and the head coach, who we're going to announce on March 25th, the roster's yours, man. Go. If you want an opinion, I'll give you an opinion. But you're the football coach. You go hire. You go get the players. I'll support you on everything. I'm gonna go sell some more season tickets. I'm gonna go talk to some more companies about corporate partnerships, all that stuff, youth football teams, all that stuff. And that's what Woody Johnson's got to do. Let the GM and the coach do their job. And if that happens, I think we're finally on the right track. Who is ready to play Stump the Wiz? Tony, are you ready to play Stump the Wiz?
I'm ready, Peter.
Wiz, are you ready to play Stump the Wiz?
I was born ready.
Well, not only are we going to play Stump the Wiz, we're going to do it twice. We've got 2 installments of it today.
Even better.
Yes.
Twice the fun.
Yes, and I have to get out of here on time today, so let's get right into it.
All right, then.
It's time to play Stump the Wiz. DM your best sports trivia question to Sports Bash Media social media channels. If we pick your question and you stump the Wiz, you win a prize. So We have two versions of this today.
Okay.
Or two editions of it. The first one, Leslie Jablonski from Mineola has a chance to win 2 tickets to a mutually agreed upon Jets or Giants game in 2025, courtesy of ticketbash.com.
Okay.
You're not going to see this on your thing. I wrote it in. It was a last second edition, right? You ready to go?
All right.
This is how we play. If you're new to the show, Wiz gets 2 minutes on the clock. If he gets the question correct, the contestant does not win anything other than a nice pat on the back from us. If they stump the Wiz, they'll get the 2 tickets to either a Jets or a Giants game, depending on who they root for. If they don't root for the Jets or Giants, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Is he getting 2 minutes for each question today?
He's going to get 2 minutes for each question.
Okay.
It's two separate editions of the show.
Got it.
Okay? So here we go. First question, first edition. This is for Leslie Jablonski of Mineola. There were 5 teams who participated in conference championship games in the NFL in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So in each of those decades, there were 5 teams that were in a conference championship in each of those decades. Do you understand the question? Okay. So 5 teams played in a conference championship game in each of the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. 2 minutes on the clock, and away we go.
Patriots.
Patriots is 1.
Broncos.
Broncos is 2.
Steelers.
Steelers is 3.
Rams.
Rams is incorrect. 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s.
You sure? Because they had the one.
I'm telling.
They had the one against the Niners in the 80s. They also were against.
Don't argue with me. I have the names of the teams here.
Oh, I'm telling you, the Rams were on.
Okay, well, the Rams are not on my list, so I'm sorry, they're not one of the 5 teams here.
Huh? It's odd.
I mean, if you want to file a complaint to the complaint department, do it after the show. Come up with two more names.
Wasn't the Niners because they didn't do the 2000s.
No, I thought it was the Niners.
It wasn't them.
No.
Wasn't the Packers either.
No, it was not. How much time do we have left?
We have a minute left.
A minute left to
Vikings.
go. The Vikings is incorrect.
Sure, they had one in the 80s.
You're arguing with me. It's not on the list. Again, file a complaint after the show.
Okay. Wasn't the Eagles?
No, it was not.
It was the Giants?
It was the Giants. Yes, that's number 4.
Giants is 1.
45 seconds.
45 seconds to go.
Trying to think what other teams.
What do we got here?
We have
Bears.
35 seconds.
The Bears is incorrect.
No, not the
Don't
Bears.
tell me,
They
are
didn't
you
do-
sure?
They
I'll
didn't
break
do the 90s. They didn't. Obviously not the Cardinals.
No.
25 seconds.
25 seconds to go.
Trying to think of other ones.
You got the Giants, you got the Patriots, you got the Broncos, you got the Steelers.
I don't think the Colts.
15 seconds.
That's not the answer.
Yeah, it's not the Colts either.
15 seconds.
Not the Titans?
No.
Or maybe like they were the Oilers. I know that they had won the 90s.
No.
5 seconds.
5 seconds to go.
Oh. And that's it.
That's it. Leslie Jablonski from Mineola, you are going. I don't know if you're a Jet fan or a Giant fan, but 2 tickets to see the Jets or a Giants game at MetLife Stadium, courtesy of ticketbash.com. What team do I root for?
The Jets?
That's the correct answer. That was the 5th one.
Oh, yeah, right.
Ironically, I couldn't believe it, actually, but yeah. Like the 80s,
they snuck
the 90s.
in there. They snuck in there with 2009 and 2010.
Yeah, they
and
did.
There's. I was saying the other ones too because while it's not listed there, the Vikings did play against the Redskins in the 80s, then against the Falcons in the 90s, and then against the Saints in 2009, and then against the Eagles in 2017.
Yep.
And so that's another team.
All right, we have to move on to the second question now.
Okay,
I
then.
told you I have to get out of here on time.
Okay.
Ready for question number 2? Mm-hmm. Okay, this contestant is Steven Sanchez from Bethpage.
Okay.
And the prize for Steven, if he stumps you, just like Leslie did, 2 tickets to a mutually agreed upon Mets or Yankees game.
Okay.
This season, courtesy of ticketbash.com. Here is the question. I think you're going to get this. Listen, I don't think you could say it fast enough to have record time. What did he get last time? 2 seconds, 3 seconds?
2 seconds.
Right? Yeah, 2 seconds. The answer would be too long for you to get it in a record time. But regardless, I think it's going to be very, very quick. I'd be shocked if you didn't get this.
Okay.
Steven Sanchez wants to know, what does ESPN stand for? What does ESPN stand for? Do you know the answer to that question, Tony?
Sure.
Yeah, because you looked at it on the script. Why do I even bother asking that question every week? I give him the script. He's following along, and I'm like an idiot. I ask him. Okay, what does ESPN stand for? We have 2 minutes on the clock, and away we go.
Entertainment and Sports Programming Network.
There you go. Boom.
Nice.
Sorry.
Took him 1 second, by the way.
1 second?
Took him 1 second to get that.
There you go. Good job. I had the confidence you were going to get that one.
Yeah, Entertainment and Sports Programming Network.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to the founder a while back. I forget his name. He was like in his 80s now.
I don't know who that is.
Name escapes me, but he was a great man.
Well, the Jets escaped you on the first question, so you didn't get the answer to that one.
Well, I still got the answer that wasn't listed.
I want you to file a complaint in writing next week, okay? File a complaint in writing, show me proof, but still, I'm sending Leslie Jablonski of Mineola.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's
but
fine.
If you feel that strongly that we did you wrong, then file a complaint, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll come up with something for you next week.
Okay.
But I don't want to hear about it. Don't text me during the week. Don't call me. Put it in writing with proof, and then we'll address it on the show next week.
All right.
All right. Sounds good. Does that sound fair, Tony?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe we can come up with something. If he's proven to be right, then maybe we can come up with something for him. Maybe we can send him here to a comedy show or something like that.
Good idea. I can set that up.
Oh, we could do that. Okay. So if you feel that strongly that we did you dirty today, then you file a report in writing with we could have Whiz Court next week.
Okay.
Right? Like the People's Whiz Court. Something like that.
Okay, then.
Judge Tony. Judge Tony.
That's dangerous.
That's dangerous. So let's move along now to This Week in Sports History.
Well, in this week, in 2020, 5 years ago, the entire world shut down. And we all remember how the NBA shut down. Legendary defensive player of the year 4 times now, Rudy Gobert, got the COVID.
Yeah, he did. He was doing this with the mic. Remember he did that with the microphone? Yeah. He thought it was a joke?
I still love Rudy. I still love him. And, of course, the NHL would follow suit, the MLB, WNBA, all the NCAA programs, as well as the minor league, their seasons were completely canceled. But the major leagues would come back. The NBA and the WNBA would have, their bubble in Orlando, Florida. The NHL would have their almost quasi-bubble in 2 areas. It was Edmonton and Toronto, if not mistaken.
I enjoyed hockey in the bubble. The
Yeah,
Islanders
I loved it for its big playoffs. I loved that.
Yeah.
Those were fun. And the MLB, they had a 60-game season where you were only against, your division rivals and your corresponding. So it was like the AL East would be against the NL East and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And there would be 16 teams in the playoffs, and it would be the first time that they would have the universal DH, which did pretty well. Then after 2021, but the one thing that stuck around for those 2 years, but then afterwards it was gone, was the 7-inning doubleheader.
Yeah, that was the worst. That was the worst decision.
Yeah, that one was not super great.
I did not like that whatsoever. Well, whatever.
There were some
history.
I never understood why some of the doubleheaders, like whenever there was a no-hitter, it doesn't count as a real no-hitter. No, I count it as it. I don't care if they don't. I'm going to count it as a real no-hitter.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the
rules.
I understand they had to do things to get through the pandemic, and thankfully there were things for us to watch on TV. But especially,
that was all that was on.
ESPN, the Ocho, all that stuff.
That's all they had. Just cornhole was the only show they had on.
Yeah. So, but yeah, well, appreciate the look back on it, and good job on that.
Thanks.
Let's move now to the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. We post a new poll question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. Today's question is for Giants fans. We talked about the Jets earlier in the show. Now let's talk about the Giants. Do you want now former Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers to be your starting quarterback? And it's a very simple question. Yes or no? Kind of like the Meatloaf song. Yes or no? Right?
Rest his soul.
Just like that.
What's that? Just like that. Yes or no? So let's go around the room. We'll start with Wiz this time. If you were a Giants fan, and you're not, you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, do you want the Giants to have Aaron Rodgers as your starting quarterback?
No, and I don't think he's going to go to the Giants. I think it's going to be the Steelers or the Vikings for him. And I wouldn't mind it for my, but I don't really see it happen. I think what's likely is that they're going to take either a quarterback high or they're going to get Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that sounds good. I agree with that. Tony?
No.
No. I say no, too. And this comes off somebody who wanted him back with the Jets, but no, he's not what the Giants need right now. I talked about this at the beginning of the show. Tony thought I was full of crap.
Are you ready?
It's ready. Yes.
Oops. All right.
There you go. Pressure. I like that. Billy Joel pressure.
Of course.
There is a lot of pressure that comes with being the general manager of a professional sports team. And as you all know, I am the general manager of the New York Dragons arena football team. I am having an absolute blast doing this, starting a football team from the ground up. I've got a great support team with me. But this new segment. Oh, look at this. Tony, you're unbelievable. Crap the GM has to deal with. I love it. Good job. I had no idea that was coming. Tony pulled that off in record time.
Proud of myself.
Yes.
Was that picture of you with a whole jug of ranch dressing?
Yeah. Don't you remember when I had ranch dressing dumped on my head? So crap. The name of this segment now is crap the GM has to deal with. And 99% of my job is outstanding. I've hired a head coach. We're going to put a roster together. We're selling season tickets. We're doing corporate partnerships. We're doing all this great stuff. But of course, at least once a day, something comes up during my day, and I'm working from home because our offices are not ready yet at the Coliseum. So my wife, Cheryl, has to deal with a lot of my bitching and moaning and complaining when crap comes up that the GM has to take care of. And this comes from opening up 2 full-time positions with the team they both long since filled. But there is this one guy who continued to email me persistently, borderline, you know what, pain in the rear end.
Oh, my God.
So this guy has been sending me emails, and here's one of them. I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but here's one of them. Hi, Peter. That's me. I'm the best there is. Now, who does he think he is? Bret Hart? The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be?
No, he's Wolverine.
Well, whatever. Hi, Peter. I'm the best there is. I have an extensive, successful background with over 20 years of sales and sales management. I'd love to learn about the position that doesn't exist, as well as the compensation associated to it. I'm high energy and have a passion for success. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, I had written him back a couple of times to say, we don't have anything now. He wrote me back, and then he writes me yesterday, or 2 days ago. Hi, Peter. I'm just checking in. I have not heard back, yada, yada, yada. I've hired, I've fired, I've trained. Again, his whole resume that he had addressed, in previous emails. And so I write him back, hello, whatever his name is. Thank you for following up. And I think I handled this very well for a first-time general manager. Thank you for following up, and I apologize for the delay in getting back to you. We have filled our full-time front office staff, and at this time we don't have any openings. That could change as we get closer to the season. But unfortunately, at this time, there aren't any openings. Does that seem like a nice response?
That's a great response.
Right?
I think if it ends just there, is it okay? Thank you. I appreciate it.
But it doesn't end there, Wiz.
Oh, God.
Wiz, it doesn't end there.
Oh, boy.
This is what happened yesterday.
Oh, dear.
No problem, Peter. I will say you definitely missed out on a proven sales executive
Oh, God.
that would have gotten the place packed with all my ties to many organizations, school districts, and the Long Island Athletic Association, whatever that might be.
Oh, jeez.
Good luck.
Wow.
Now, does this guy know who he's talking to?
No.
I mean,
Ties to many organizations? How many more organizations could I possibly have ties to?
you probably have more hats on your head than
School
him.
districts. Not only do I have 2 kids who came up playing school on Long Island, but I broadcast games, I've covered games, I've had people on this show, And someone has to explain to me what the Long Island Athletic Association is. Tony, do you have any idea what the Long Island Athletic Association is?
Well, if you don't know by now, I can't tell you.
Okay, do you know what the Long Island Athletic
I
Association
feel like
is?
I've heard the name somewhere, but I can't put a finger on it.
Okay, so whatever. But again, I thought I was being respectful. We don't have a full-time job opening right now. Again, that could change. If I sell enough season tickets, if we sell enough corporate partnerships, I could hire somebody else. Maybe it's Wiz, maybe it's Tony, maybe it's Vinny Tickets. I don't know. Maybe we'll hire somebody else. We'll see. But I thought I was being respectful with this guy, but he was just persistent and borderline pompous here.
Yeah, very pompous. You give
Right?
me borderline? No, he's.
Do I want this guy representing my organization?
No.
Right?
Don't. No, don't even give him the time of day.
Right. Well, I'm not. I don't even know how to respond to that email. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. But I just wanted to get reassured that I handled that as a first time boss, a first time executive, a first time general manager. I appreciate the fact that the two of you support me, that I handled that correctly.
Anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. See, now that's where you could have had the applause meter up there too.
I
But
could have.
You could have, but I can't knock you because of the graphic you came up with at the last second. I have an appointment at 2:15 that I have to get to, so let me just tell everybody, Tuesday, March 25th, I am going to be very, very happy to introduce the new. I have to take a second to think about this. If the Dragons existed before in a previous league and we had 3 head coaches, and now we're back in a new league, it's kind of a new beginning. Do I call this guy the new head coach of the Dragons? Is it the first head coach of this current Dragons? Or do I just say, like, the next head coach of the Dragons? Like, how do I phrase this?
Oh, that's interesting.
It's an interesting call. Like, what do I do?
I got an idea. The first head coach of this new incarnation of the New York Dragons.
Hey, see, there we go. Wiz, great job on that. The first head coach of the new incarnation of the New York Dragons will be introduced at 11 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, March 25th. We may have to talk about rescheduling Sports Bash that Tuesday.
Okay.
We have to talk about it. We'll see what happens.
Sure.
We may have to move it later in the day because I don't think I'd get here in time from the announcement. So that's a possibility. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, Thursday, April 24th, the Marty Lions Foundation 5th Annual NFL Draft Party at Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore. Go on the Marty Lions Foundation website, get your tickets. It's a great event. We're going to have a lot of fun. Former NFL players, some food, raffle prizes. Just it's 3 hours of just it. It is one of the coolest events that I'm part of. I'm honored to be the MC of it, so I am looking forward to doing that again. And we'll see. Maybe there's some surprises there that night as well. That will do it for this edition of Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and Ryan Anthony Head Start program. Thanks to my guest, Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. Enjoyed talking Jets with him. Thanks to Tony Walker, everyone here at Governor's Comedy Club. Thanks to Wiz for a double dose of Stump the Wiz today and this week in sports history. Sports Bash is presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Living Legends Memorabilia in Rockville Center, and by the Marty Lions Foundation. For our entire crew, this is Peter Schwartz saying thank you for watching. Sports Bash is back on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everyone.